Hello, I'm Robert Day.
And I'm Larry Linehauser. Welcome to another edition of Lifelines, a show dedicated to your safety, health, and wellness. Rob, what's on your menu today?
Today we'll be talking to Manatee Search and Rescue. They're a wilderness search and rescue team that go out and find lost hikers and hunters. They don't necessarily search for manatees. They're based in Manatee County, and they use canines and other modes of transportation to try to find lost folks.
Rob, speaking of lost, last time I saw you, it appears you've lost some fur that was on your face. What happened there?
Oh yeah, the email was overwhelming that I should lose the beard. Actually, by overwhelming, I mean my wife told me lose the beard, so that was it. But maybe we'll have a Manatee Search and Rescue try to help me find it.
That would be a true expedition. My segment today is going to be on on medevac choppers, primarily Bayflite, because they're based out of Sarasota Airport. And I'm going to take you on a tour of the helicopter and interview one of the flight medics who's going to tell us all about what they do, why they do it, and how it helps the community. We'll be right back in a minute. Welcome back to Lifelines. My name's Larry Linehauser. Perhaps you've seen them in the air, perhaps you've seen them on the ground. They're medevac choppers and they perform a very special function. Joining me today is Flight Paramedic Will Schroeder with Bayflite Helicopters. Will, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Larry.
Will, can you give us an overview of what exactly Bayflite does?
Bayflite Medical Helicopter Service is a subsidiary of Bayfront Medical Center that's located in St. Petersburg, Florida. We are a not-for-profit hospital that operates 5 helicopters that cover the Tampa Bay area, provide medevac services for surrounding counties. We also do interfacility transports between outlying hospitals and specialty hospitals for sick patients, heart patients, that kind of thing that need to go to a specialized hospital. Bayflite's been around for well over 15 years, and we fly multiple types of missions, but primarily our main response is for scene response into outlying counties for trauma patients.
Yeah, I think most of the public and myself as well relate you to trauma primarily because we see you landing in the middle of the streets, we see you landing everywhere. Is trauma your forte, so to speak?
Trauma is our forte, and we are a unique program in that we're the number one program for volume of scene response in the United States. No other helicopter program does the amount of scene response that we do. And it has to do with the way the trauma system is set up in Florida and the fact that the trauma centers are located in St. Petersburg and Tampa as far as in relation to Manatee County being the closest.
We tend to see more of you guys lately than we have seen. Is there things changing, or is it busier, or is there laws changing, or what's dictating your performance or your?
I think there are a couple of factors that have played a role in that, and the first factor would be that a couple of years ago the state of Florida changed the criteria that they designate a patient as a trauma alert for. And it kind of opened the criteria up and broadened the horizons for the number of patients that are going to be designated as trauma alerts. And it's better for the patients, I think, as a whole, because it relies on preparing for the worst case scenario, so to speak, and taking them to the most appropriate facility. The second factor, I think, is just the sheer number of people that are living here now as opposed to 5-10 years ago.
Population has definitely grown.
Absolutely.
This obviously requires some specialized training beyond. You're a flight paramedic. We know what a paramedic is in a sense. We're going to do a show in more detail, but you're a flight paramedic, so there's obviously different things involved. What exactly did you have to do beyond the level as a paramedic to be eligible to work here?
Each flight program is specific as far as their requirements as to how much they need extra from you. This program requires that you have a Department of Transportation aeromedical core curriculum class, which is pretty standard throughout the industry. And then as well as having several other advanced skill training labs that the hospital provides itself. It also requires advanced training in pediatric and neonatal resuscitation. So there are quite a few things that you have to accomplish once you have been hired on. Doesn't necessarily mean you're done there. It's a constant training situation with us.
Okay. What other crew members do you have on board on a typical flight? How's it staffed?
Every flight is staffed with a pilot who is employed by Air Methods Company, which is the company that leases us the helicopter, pilot, the mechanic for the aircraft, and then a nurse and flight paramedic that are employees of Bayfront Medical Center.
Okay, well, in a few moments we're going to have Will give us a tour of the helicopter, see exactly what they carry. We're also going to meet some of the other crew members involved. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with Lifelines. Welcome back to Lifelines. I'm Larry Linehauser. Joining me again is Will Schroeder, the flight paramedic with Bayflite. Now we're inside the chopper. Will, would you take us through what you carry?
Sure. Carry basically the same equipment that an ambulance does on the road, but we also carry some extra advanced equipment that we can provide services that the ER would normally provide for a patient, so we can get them up and into an operating room very quickly. We carry a standard monitor that monitors heart rate, blood pressure, and oxygenation. We carry a syringe pump that would be to deliver very precise medications as opposed to using just a standard IV push. We carry a ventilator device that allows us to ventilate patients who have been intubated and have mechanical ventilation going for them already. We can control that with this, and it's very specific as to how much volume, so on and so forth. We carry a standard monitor defibrillator that locks up into the ceiling there, the same kind that the ambulances carry. We also have suction equipment for 2 patients. The aircraft is equipped to carry a patient on the stretcher as well as a patient on the bench seat. If we need to carry 2 patients, we can. Then we have oxygen settings for both of them as well as the suction devices. Carry standard airway equipment that an ambulance does, as well as some advanced equipment. We carry chest tube equipment, so we're able to put a chest tube in a patient if they have a collapsed lung.
Well, let me just ask you 1 second. Mm-hmm. You said you could carry 2 patients. This is fairly tight quarters here.
Very tight quarters.
And if you have a trauma patient where you need as many hands as you can on the patient, and you're transporting 2, can you transport 2 critically ill patients, or just 1 and 1 kind of stable? Or
it's left up to the flight crew to determine whether or not they're going to be able to handle those patients, and obviously each situation is different. There are some patients who are going to be more stable but still meet that criteria.
Right.
There are other patients who are going to be very unstable and meet that criteria, and those patients who are unstable will demand the attention of both flight crew members. And at that point, we would only take 1 of those patients and not take 2, because it would be splitting up our abilities between the 2.
What is your average response time from, say, your scramble time from the time you get a call come into you, like an ambulance, you get a call, the plectron goes off and they go. Mm-hmm. How do you guys work it?
Once we receive the call here at the base, we have a 5-minute window in which we have a goal to lift off the ground in. It takes a few minutes to start the aircraft. It's not like starting a car, turning a key. It takes a little bit of time for the aircraft engines to warm up. So we have liftoff in 5 minutes, and then average response into Manatee County would be 5 to 6 minutes. Unless you're talking about some of the far eastern areas, and you're talking about a 10-minute response, but it's still relatively quick.
Much quicker than perhaps an ambulance could get ground transport to a nearest facility if they were way out east.
Absolutely, and that's the whole point of the program is that if somebody is out in the Mossy Hammock area or the Myakka area, that they're going to be transported much quicker by air up to a trauma center than they are by ground, as well as downtown Bradenton, 35, 40 minutes by ground versus 10 minutes by air. You're saving time.
One final question in here. We keep hearing about the golden hour. Would you, for our listening audience, describe the golden hour, please?
Sure. The golden hour is something that a board of trauma surgeons came up with many years ago that determined that was the period of time in which a trauma victim had the greatest chance for survival if they were in an operating room. After that hour's period of time is up from the time that they were injured, their chances for survival start decreasing incrementally greatly over a period of time. So we want to get the person into an operating room within an hour of the injury.
Very good. I appreciate it. Coming up next, we're going to interview Matt Turner, who is the chief nurse, flight nurse with Bayflite. So stay with us. We'll get back, and we'll see you in a minute. Welcome back to Lifelines. Joining me now, as promised, is Matt Turner, the chief flight nurse for Bayflite. Matt, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Matt, can you tell me exactly what your role is during operations?
Well, as the flight nurse on duty, my sole responsibility is patient care.
Okay.
I do have a headset on, so I'm in the loop of the radios and pay attention to the landing zones and stuff like that, but majority of my focus is the patient.
I don't think people realize how loud it is in here during an operation. We can't carry on a conversation like we're doing now if in fact we were up in the air.
Yeah, you can't hear the phone ring, or you can't hear somebody talking to you. You can't really even hear your patient, so you kind of have to lean over. You get right close to them. So
you guys use voice-activated mics for
we do
communications?
use an ICS, an intercom system, for when we're talking amongst ourselves, and then I can also transmit from the back, so when we call report to the hospitals.
Okay. Matt, give me an idea of some of the missions, typical missions that you would fly that the public would probably be familiar with.
Well, we're unique in the country as far as nationwide air medical transport services. We do majority of scene calls and trauma rescue rather than interfacility point A to point B flights. We are doing quite a few of those now, but the majority of our patients are trauma. So we get everything from, well, you have to meet a certain state criteria just to call the helicopter. So they're usually the worst of the worst.
Okay. And I'm sure there's people out there who may have used this, or more importantly, if they ever have to, who pays for this?
Well, actually, we're able to bill your insurance for the most part. There are some counties that supplement, but as trauma goes, it's not really a big money-making engine for most hospitals. So the government funds a lot of it, state EMS budgets.
Okay, Matt, what type of space for a landing zone do you require, and where can you set down, and what's your guidelines?
Most of our minimums are 100 by 100 square. We like hard surface. We like unobstructed areas, but we're able to put them down into some tight spots. Our pilots are all mostly ex-military, but they're all very skilled and highly trained. So,
are night missions more challenging than day missions?
They can be, because you might be able to stand on the ground and look up and see the wire going across this way or telephone cable going across that way. But from the air, you can't see anything. So it makes it a little more nerve-wracking, because you really got to rely on your ground crews.
So basically, they're your eyes when you're coming in.
Yeah.
Is there any type of technology that you have up front that allows you to, like, little thermograph like wires or stuff like that?
No, we have a searchlight on the front, and we do a sweep before we circle around before we land. And we do annual training with every fire department and police department that we interact with on an annual basis. So we do what we call LZ, or landing zone training, so that they are aware of the signs that we like to hear, the call signs, and mostly,
You and EMS must have a pretty special relationship, as far as, because you're transferring care basically from the patient from us or EMS to you. Can you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, what happens is usually the patient's still in the back of the rescue when we get there, mostly to protect them from debris and stuff that we would blow around with our rotor wash. So we get in the back of the rescue, whether they need to be stabilized a little bit more before we transport them or not, but we usually would take care of that there. And then we load them up on our stretcher and off we go.
Okay. Matt, I want to thank you very much for joining us, and I think we're going to try to see what it looks like up in the air.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this.
Welcome back to Lifelines. We're here with John Osborne of the Manatee Search and Rescue. Now, you all don't actually search for manatees, right?
Not unless we're called out to do
Okay.
so.
But you would.
But
okay.
yes.
All right. So what is Manatee Search and Rescue, and what's it about?
Manatee Search and Rescue is actually made up of volunteer public safety professionals from around the county. We include folks from our Manatee County EMS, folks from local fire departments, fire districts, and we also have some folks from our Manatee County Sheriff's Office on board.
Now, is there any plans to open it up to the public anytime soon?
Not in the immediate future, but there is an avenue for folks who are interested in similar activities that we'll talk about a little bit later, I understand, and that's the mountain bike patrol.
Okay, good. So there may be a way for people to participate in that regard. As far as what you do and who do you look for as far as your clientele? We see all, with 9/11 in the buildings and all that, but is that what you do, or do you do something else?
It's mainly for wilderness search and rescue activities, the
all right.
potential for somebody to actually get lost in some of our larger conservation land areas like Duet, even here in Rye Wilderness Park, there is a potential here. One of the things the Manatee County Commissioners have passed last year in 2002 was a Greenways and Trails Master Plan for the county. And that will potentially establish and provides the vision for a network of about 100 miles of trails throughout the county. And that could potentially open up other vast areas of land, open up for people to do off-trail exploration and, potentially get lost. So we just increased our customer base.
So you have some potentially new clientele.
That's correct.
Now I understand you also did a Blue Ways project, and on your logo I see a kayak and a mountain bike and a dog print.
Yes.
How do I see you can go by foot, obviously, but are there other ways that you get to where you need to go?
Yeah, hiking or the foot-based tracking is our primary avenue for searching for lost folks. We do offer other activities or other means of transportation. For example, for perimeter patrol or establishing a perimeter of a search area, we could use mountain bikes. If somebody was lost on, like say, the Manatee River, we do have kayaks and canoes that we could also do search with. And we also have the ability for some four-wheel drive vehicles as well for perimeters.
What about horses? I've seen, I think one of your exercises you had some equine, is that what you call equine units?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we do have some equine units. And one of our primary activities for search and rescue is actually our search dogs. And Lieutenant Larry Liu with the Manatee County EMS has one of our sort of primary search dogs, Jasmine, who is an excellent search and rescue dog.
Great. Now, as far as the folks out there, what can they do to either not get lost in the first place, or if they do get lost, then what can they do on their own until you all can get there?
Well, before you go hiking or out in the woods, make sure you tell somebody where you're going and when you're going to be back. And it's very much similar like when you go out in your boat, you do a float plan. And the same thing applies to hiking. You need to tell folks where you're going and when you're going to be back. If they do get lost, the best thing to do is really to stay put. But there are some navigational things that they could learn on their own, dealing with where basic boundaries are of highways and roads and power lines. And Florida's so flat that some of our best locators are highways and actually cell towers and transmission towers.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, well, do we want to take a look at some of the gear you brought along?
Yeah, I've got quite a load here in the back. I've got a few things I can show you.
Because I just have on jeans, and I notice you have the fatigues.
Yeah, this is pretty much our uniform for MSAR. It allows us to go out and pretty much go through the brush and palmettos and stay pretty much protected from the sharp palmettos. And we wear basically like these are Magnum, kind of same boot like a firefighter would be on standby with steel toes, and provides a good hiking sole.
Well, let's take a look. Okay, John, now as far as some of this gear, can you show us what some of this is?
Sure. Well, Rob, we have some navigation items here.
Okay.
We have a basic compass that allows us to navigate the land. One of the things about notice in Florida, unlike you go to North Carolina or some places out west, we don't have a lot of mountains you can really get a good reading on. And so we rely heavily on the use of our towers here, and also just on highways and knowing where a highway is in reference to you are where you started your search.
So then you would just take this and line it up and then point.
You get a sight.
There's a mirror on here too.
Right. And that's a lot of compasses you see have them the more expensive ones tend to have the mirror on there, and allows you to be able to sight an object and get an exact reading, and the mirror allows you to adjust your compass without having to go down and it allows it to be more accurate, in other words.
Could this also be used, like you see always on TV about people signaling planes and all that?
Yeah, it could be used for that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else do you have?
We also have, as a backup, we do have a GPS unit. I say backup. We are in the field. We do have it on all the time.
Okay.
But we do use it. Some of the more expensive GPS models will also have the highways on there, so you can see where we're at in relation to the highways and other landmarks.
Now, what does GPS stand for?
That's Global Positioning System.
Okay.
It utilizes satellites in Earth orbit, and usually it links into between 3 and 5 satellites and gives you a very accurate latitude and longitude reading of where you're at on the Earth's surface.
Okay, great. Notice you have this tube that sticks out of this bag.
Yeah, everything in our equipment pretty much is really from a list that's recommended by the National Association for Search and Rescue.
Okay.
And this is called a SAR pack, a 24-hour ready pack. Some of the things we have for Florida that are a little bit modified than what they recommend nationally is in Florida we need a lot more water when we're out in the field.
Okay.
I think
probably less snow shovels and more.
Yeah,
okay. All right, good.
exactly. And we carry a minimum of 100 ounces, and this is basically the brand name of this is Camelback.
Right.
But any type of hydration bladder will work, and it has a kind of like a medical quality type tube with a valve, and it allows you to pretty much drink water
So you
as
just
needed.
put this in your mouth and drink on the go.
On the go, right?
Good.
And the 100 ounces is a pretty decent day's supply. Some of us do carry more, and we'll keep more at our base station where we are doing a search.
Now, I also noticed you have this looks like a first aid kit or a medical kit.
Yeah, this is a medical kit that we use for search and rescue. It provides basic some CPR, like a mouth protection device, the one-way valve. It also provides some basic trauma pads and things like that, control bleeding, and things that has some basic minor medical or minor medications like Tylenol and things like that.
I guess if somebody's been lost out in the woods, they might be lost because they're hurt. And
That's correct. That's correct. We do have some SAM splints, other things here that could stabilize a broken bone or something like that. But our primary reason, once we find them too, is activate EMS to let them know where we're at and get the proper professionals there in a timely manner.
Good. Now, as far as I also see ropes and these metal clips. What are these metal clips? What are they for?
We don't do a lot of mountain climbing in Florida. However, there is an opportunity for some low-angle rescue. A lot of the land was previously mined by phosphate, and some of the wilderness areas do have some low-angle rescue situations. Somebody did fall down into some of the holes. And also some of our rivers here, if you notice on the Upper Manatee River, some of the banks are pretty steep. If you had to get somebody up, you might even actually need a rescue litter and use some of your ropes and other type of climbing equipment.
So this thing just clips onto something and then
clips onto the rope, and it provides a safety lock as well.
All right, good. Anything else we have? Oh, what's this lovely lunch you have down here? I see that.
Yeah, this is
chicken
basically
and rice.
Military spec MREs. One thing we find when you're out if you're out hiking all day, you burn a lot of calories. And one thing we notice with the military MREs is they're relatively inexpensive, and they provide you with a ton of calories to help replenish what you lost during the day. So we pretty much, and it's also they last for a really long time. You can keep them in the trunk of your car and they just seem to work real well, and so that's why we use and recommend.
All right, so I understand next you're going to show me how to hurt myself. I mean, how to ride a bike over a log.
Yeah, I'll give you a tip on crossing a log. Hopefully, one of the things with that we'll talk about later on with the mountain bike patrol. Hopefully, there won't be logs in your way, but after a storm event or something, and somebody's out, there might be an opportunity to hop a log, and we're going to show you how.
Okay, well, let's take a look. Hey, John.
Hey, Rob.
You're going to show me how to do that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, before I kill myself, you show me how to do that. This is part of the National Mountain Bike Patrol you were talking about earlier?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, the National Mountain Bike Patrol is actually a group organized by the International Mountain Biking Association. It's something that actually the average citizen mountain biker can get involved in. What it entails is it's kind of like it was modeled after the National Ski Patrol, which is made up also of citizen volunteers, just kind of patrolling the slopes and making sure everybody's okay, and it just provides an extra set of ears and eyes for the public safety folks. And the National Mountain Bike Patrol, we're going to start up a chapter here in Manatee County because, like as we said before, the Greenways Master Plan was approved, so we're going to start building it, mountain bike trails and other type of bicycle and hiking trails in the county.
So those trails, they can be used for not only hiking like we talked about earlier, but the bikes and what about horses?
Horses will be allowed to use them also, and obviously some sections maybe will be paved at some point, and they'll be allowed to have folks even rollerblading on them and that type of thing.
Now, as far as the tips for doing something like that, I noticed you made it look effortless, but as a beginner, what would I do? How would you show me how to do that or teach me? I know. I think you kept on pedaling or something.
I'd probably start you out on a smaller log, but for today, we'll start you on the big log.
Going for the big log.
Yeah, you're gonna approach, have both hands on the handlebar, approach it at some sort of speed and momentum, and then you're gonna pull your front wheel up and over the log, but you're gonna keep pedaling with your pedals, and really once you feel it lock in, really just propel yourself and give it a good spin on the pedals, and you'll go right over it.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll
Keep
go
your
ahead
weight
and
back
give that
a
a
little
try
bit
and
and-
see what happens.
All right.
Okay. How'd I do?
You did great, Rob.
All right.
Kept your weight back, you got over it, had plenty of momentum, and you actually freed a large cockroach. Good job.
See, environmentally friendly at the same time. Yeah, this is a great resource in addition to Larry Lou and Jasmine, the canine dog you talked about earlier. Anything else folks should know about the mountain bike patrol?
Well, like I said, right now we're going through with the public safety folks and the park rangers, letting them know about the program and what the volunteer resource will be. And it's coming this summer. We hope to make it available to the public, the training course, which is an all-day-long training course. In addition to that, folks have to have a basic CPR certification and basic first aid.
So they should probably get that before they even...
It'd be a good idea.
Come in,
Yeah,
okay.
so once they take the course, that could be the final thing. Then we can send in their stuff to the national office in Colorado and get them signed up.
Okay.
And then by then we'll have the coordination done with the county and the Conservation Lands Division, and to have it all set up and ready to go, so
Right.
folks can start volunteering and start participating in our trail system.
I know last month's segment, Larry Leinhauser had a person, a guest on there as far as the Heart Month. So that would probably be a good resource at MTI East for getting CPR lessons and that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Good. As far as making folks aware of this,
We'll be advertising through the local bike shops,
okay.
and we might even have some things in the paper. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. So this is a good way for the general public to get involved in MSAR.
Absolutely, it's kind of a citizen component, and they can learn more about it, and also what the other capabilities are once you have more advanced training and certifications.
Good. All right. Well, as always, safety first. I appreciate it, John.
Thank you, Mr. Dave.
Thank you very much.
All right.
For questions or story ideas for Larry and Rob, you can send an email to lifelinesTV@aol.com.
Well, we'd like to thank John Osborne of Manatee Search and Rescue for showing us about the National Mountain Bike Patrol and also Manatee Search and Rescue's equipment and techniques. Larry?
And we'd also like to thank Will Schroeder and Bayflite for being kind enough to let us tour their helicopter and see exactly what they do.
Thanks, Larry. And remember, safety is your lifeline.